Have you ever truly asked yourself, where do my thoughts come from? Not just in passing, but seriously paused and watched your mind, without judgment, without labeling. You might assume that your thoughts are your own, that they naturally arise from somewhere deep within you, reflections of your true self. But what if that assumption is the very illusion keeping you trapped? Consider this. There's a voice in your head, a constant narrator. It tells you what to do, what to fear, what to want. It replays old memories and rehearses imaginary futures. It speaks with your tone, your rhythm, your language. So of course, you believe it's you. But here's the uncomfortable truth. If you can hear that voice, then who's the one listening? Who's silently aware of the inner chatter? That question alone, if sat with long enough, starts to unravel everything. Because maybe that voice isn't yours. Maybe it never was. From the moment you were born, you were conditioned. Beliefs, values, fears, downloaded into you like software. You didn't choose what to believe. You inherited it. You absorbed it unconsciously, from parents, school, media, culture. These voices became your internal soundtrack, and over time you began calling them me. But they're not you. They're echoes, programs, scripts, and yet you follow them, you obey them, you fear them. Why? Because no one ever told you. You are not the voice. You are the awareness hearing it. You see, the voice in your head didn't start with you. It started with everything around you. You were born into noise, into a world already scripted. Before you could even form a thought, the world began shaping them for you. You were taught what to value, what to fear, what success means, what failure looks like. You were taught how to speak, what's polite, what's shameful, what's right, what's wrong. And not once did you realize none of it was truly yours. These beliefs, opinions, judgments, they came from other voices, and those voices came from others before them. A chain of unexamined inheritance passed down like a virus. One generation programs the next, and we call it life, education, growing up. But it's programming. Quiet, subtle, powerful. Your mind became a storage unit. Every experience added another file. And eventually, a voice emerged from all that data. A voice you now believe is you. But it isn't. It's a constructed entity. A feedback loop between your past and your perception of self. And the more you listen to it, the more it defines you. Not because it's real, but because you forgot to question it. That voice, it has personality. It sounds certain. Sometimes it even argues with itself, but it never stops. That's by design. Because the moment it stops, the moment there's silence, you appear. The real you. Not the thinker, the watcher, the one who sees the thinking. But the voice doesn't want to be seen. It fears that. It wants to run the show without being noticed. It needs your constant identification. So it keeps talking. It keeps pulling you into memories, into future fears, into judgments and comparisons. It keeps you distracted, locked in thought, so you never find the stillness that exposes it for what it is, a mask. And here's what they don't want you to realize. The system, the world built on distraction, thrives when you're not paying attention to who's really in there. It thrives when you mistake the voice for the self, because when you do, you're predictable, you're reactive, you're manageable, and you don't ask the one question that can break the loop. If I can hear the voice, then who am I? Now you see the shape of the trap. The voice isn't malicious, it isn't trying to hurt you, but it is trying to control you. Not because it hates you, but because it's terrified. It was built to protect, not to evolve. It thrives on repetition, on routine, on certainty. And the unknown terrifies it. So every time you think about doing something unfamiliar, every time you try to change, speak up, take a risk, the voice panics. It warns you. Don't do that. You'll fail. They'll laugh. You're not ready. And you believe it not because it's true, but because it feels familiar. Familiar doesn't mean real. It means rehearsed. The voice wants safety, but it defines safety as sameness. So it keeps you in patterns. It replays the same stories, the same doubts, the same fears, and you live them like they're new. But they're not new. They're recycled scripts from your past, from trauma, from childhood, from the world that told you who you were before you had a chance to find out for yourself. And the system? It doesn't need to censor you. It doesn't need to imprison your body. It just needs your attention. If it has your attention, it has your energy. And where your energy goes, that becomes your reality. If your energy is trapped in a voice that was never yours, then your life will never be yours either. That's the game. And the voice is the interface. It's the firewall between you and direct experience. It interprets everything. It filters every moment through belief, judgment, assumption. You don't see life as it is. You see it as the voice explains it. You're not afraid of reality. You're afraid of what the voice tells you reality is. And this is where it gets dangerous for the system. Because the moment you stop identifying with the voice, you become unpredictable. The program loses its grip. Your decisions no longer come from fear, habit, or obligation, but from awareness, from presence, from truth. And that kind of person can't be controlled. If this is waking something up in you, subscribe and hit the bell. You were meant to find this, so if you are not the voice, then who are you? That question isn't philosophical. It's revolutionary. Because once you stop clinging to the voice, something else begins to emerge. A quiet presence. Not loud, not dramatic. Just there. It doesn't speak. It doesn't rush. It doesn't need to explain itself. It just watches. It sees the thought arise. It sees the fear, the fantasy, the memory, and it doesn't grab any of them. That presence is you. You've been there the whole time, watching, listening. Even when you believed the voice, you were the one who noticed. That silent awareness isn't a product of the voice. It's what allows the voice to exist at all. This is where real power begins. Not in controlling the voice, not in silencing it, but in stepping back, creating space, becoming the observer, not the actor. When you observe the voice without attachment, you take away its fuel. It stops being the director of your experience and becomes what it really is, just noise, like wind passing through trees, present but powerless unless you chase it. And in that space, where you no longer chase, you find stillness, not the forced kind, not the kind that comes from fighting thoughts, a deeper stillness, the kind that was always there, waiting for you to return. Because silence isn't emptiness, it's truth. It's the space where the illusion dissolves, where you're no longer wrapped in story, no longer performing for invisible judges, no longer trying to fix what was never broken. It's the space where you finally meet yourself, and the system hates that space. It has no control there. Because when you live from silence, when you speak from awareness, when you act from presence, you don't need permission. You don't ask for validation. You don't follow the script. You write your own. You don't need to destroy the voice. You don't need to silence it. That's just another trap, a spiritual one. The voice will speak. That's what it does. But now, you don't have to believe it. You don't have to chase every thought like it's a command. You've remembered something deeper. You are the one who sees the thought, not the one who thinks it. That's the moment it all begins to shift. You walk into a room and no longer judge everyone based on the voice's running commentary. You notice your fear, but you don't obey it. You hear the self-doubt, but you don't shrink. You feel the pull of an old habit, but you pause. And in that pause, everything changes. Because that pause is awareness. And awareness is freedom. This isn't about becoming perfect, it's about becoming present. And from that presence, a different kind of intelligence begins to rise. Not logical, not emotional, something deeper, a knowing. You start to act, speak, move, not from reaction, but from clarity. And people around you can feel it. You're not operating from your story anymore. You're not replaying your conditioning. You're awake. And here's what they never told you. When you stop listening to the voice, your energy changes. The world doesn't react to your thoughts. It reacts to your state, to your frequency. And when your frequency shifts, so does your life. You stop attracting chaos. You stop playing roles. You stop apologizing for existing. You start to notice what resonates, what drains you, what pulls you away from presence. And slowly, you begin rebuilding your life from a different place, not from fear or programming, but from stillness. And that's terrifying, not for you, but for the system. Because now, you're not a pawn. You're not a repeatable pattern. You're not asleep. You've stepped out of the matrix of mind. And once you taste that level of clarity, no external structure can fully contain you again. Most people never get here, not because they can't, but because they've been convinced they shouldn't. The world doesn't reward self-awareness. It rewards repetition. It praises those who play their part, follow the script, stay inside the lines. But you're not here for that. You're here because something in you knows. Something in you always knew the voice wasn't the end of the story, that there had to be more. Not in the outside world, but within. Now you're not chasing thoughts. You're watching them. You're not reacting. You're witnessing. And that simple shift is everything. Because from here, you don't need to force anything. You don't need to fix yourself. You don't need to heal every wound before you feel whole. Wholeness isn't something you earn. It's something you remember. And as you rest in this awareness, as you move through life listening not to the noise but to the space beneath it, you begin to notice how much of your identity was never truly yours. It was performed, protected, inherited. But now you have the chance to choose. Not from fear, not from guilt, from stillness. The world may try to pull you back. The voice may return louder than ever. But now you have the key. Not to destroy the voice, but to see it. And once something is seen, it loses its power. So here's the final truth. You were never your thoughts. You were never the fear, the guilt, the shame. You were never the voice. You were the one who heard it all and kept listening, quietly, patiently, until now. And now that you see it, you can never unsee it. But let me ask you something only you can answer. If the voice inside your head isn't really you, then who have you been all this time? Drop your truth in the comments. I'm listening.